What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Mist Podcast. I am your host, Aero Mist. Today, we're going to be talking about AI music and how algorithms have completely changed the industry. When I wanted to be an artist, when I was a kid, and then when I actually started being an artist and trying to take it seriously and getting into it, the music industry was still underneath the same premonition, technically. And it wasn't until around 2017, 2018 where things really started to change. And that was because of SoundCloud, the SoundCloud era, as everyone remembers. And the reason that era did not last longer was because SoundCloud changed their algorithm and changed how their shit works so that they wouldn't overhaul the whole music industry. Because they literally could have independently overhauled the music industry, especially with music discovery, in a way that no one's ever seen before. And that ended up actually coming through because of TikTok. And TikTok ended up changing everything. And algorithms have created this double-edged sword. And you've never been able to go out and get in front of 200 or 1,000 people or however many people as easily as you were before. But the premonition and idea of being a musician and an artist has made all of this change to where you are no longer just an artist. And if you are not an all-in-one, essentially, as in you have to be a marketer, a digital artist, you have to be all these things to be able to even accomplish the one simple goal of being an artist. And then on top of that, you have to be basically a social media influencer. When I signed up, I didn't sign up to be a social media influencer. I didn't sign up to learn social media marketing. I didn't sign up to be a graphic designer. I didn't sign up to do all these other things. Now, some of these things that I have learned, I have been very grateful that I learned them, actually. And learning many skills is perfectly fine, but there was just other skills that I really wanted to learn or things that I wanted to get into. And getting into those, I'm not able to get into those because I have to sacrifice most of my time and life into figuring out how to make this being an artist thing more realistic than it ever could be. And although it seems more realistic than it ever could be, it takes a specific type of skill set with visual work, the part of it that has nothing to do at all with your music, because the music doesn't matter anymore. And it's got to the point where it almost doesn't matter at all. You still have to have decent music, but the quote on the decent, you don't have to be the best artist and have the best music and the best anything. And technically, anything is only as good as its marketing, regardless of how good the music is. You could have top level quality, top notch writing, production, everything else. And I guess the whole point of having this conversation is to see how things have changed and how they're going. Now, where we're going to go because of AI as well. Because AI is going to continue to shift the position of the artist. Because although artists were shit on in the past, we were still valued a little bit differently than how we are now valued with TikTok, because TikTok has changed accessibility. And accessibility has also mean that there is an entire saturation to the market, and it's now changed the value of being an artist, the definition of being a musical artist. It's changed the position of creating music if you want to put it out in a monetary fashion and fully try to make a living out of it by any means. And for some people, like myself, music is an ingrained part of my existence and other people's existence, and it's almost impossible for me to sit here and say that I'm going to go out and work a job or do all these other things when, I could sit here and spend 16 hours making music and doing music-related things while other people, and at the end of it, smile and be completely happy, while other people go work an 8-hour anything else and can be completely disappointed and shattered in their existence after doing all that. And, some people also can go out and go work those jobs that they could be just as happy working their 8 hours as I am doing my 16 hours as a musician. And I think that's obviously just a very point-blank give and take. The point is that everyone's position and what they do that they're good at, for them to be valued at, is dynamically different, even if some things like music are as valuable as other things that people value way higher, like a construction worker. Now, do I fully think that entertainment is at the exact same equatable level as what it is that you need to build your house? Yes, I do. And the reason is that music is still the backbone for every single thing that we interact with that involves gatherings, media. Tell me any religion on this planet that practices but does not have music. Name one for me, please. I will wait. I will wait for anything on this planet, even before modern day music, that did not have music embedded inside of its culture. Give me one. Give me one culture that did not have music embedded in it in some way, whether it was throat singing, whether it is playing a specific type of really generic instrument and making your own drums, whether like it's always been there in every single culture, in every single presence of human existence. These things have always been there. And those people used to be valued so differently than they do now. Although those people, we didn't have the same monetary value system. So the value of those people from an entertainment standpoint was more of a positive pinnacle point rather than today's negative pinnacle point of celebrity culture and other things that are completely shit and redundant. And to be fair, they should not be as celebrated as they are, because most of what's put out there is just glorifying things that music was not delegated for back in the day. And that's obviously why there's still a big difference, is that music was always used for its, bringing people together. And I don't think I need to sit here and really explain entirely the value of music and why music is valuable. But just know that every single way that you turn in your existence, no matter what you do, music is there. Commercials need music. Every single movie and TV show you ever watch has to have music, because if they don't have music, then the atmosphere does not exist. No matter what you do, music is there. Going to a concert, which is probably one of the most emphatic gatherings. Well, churches need music too. Every religion needs music. They need, everything needs music, no matter what it is. You're going into a store and you're going to go shopping somewhere, they're probably playing music. Oh, every restaurant is playing music. There's a very small amount of places that you will walk into that are not playing music. McDonald's probably ain't playing fucking music. But McDonald's also doesn't give a fuck about anybody else but McDonald's. And at least some of the other places act like they give a shit about you. And by acting like they give a shit is that playing that music is a part of the subconscious programming that they put out, and McDonald's doesn't need to program you anymore to give a fuck about browsing their store. That's also a part of the music. But music has such a pinpoint of its purpose that's why it's as valuable as it's supposed to be. But from a psychology standpoint, it is not valued at all, because people have been psychologically trained to undervalue musicians and music and how they take it, because the consumption of it has been put at a point to, from a hierarchical standpoint, specifically value and pay out the top highest people, or also be paying out the people that run the labels and that basically run all the back end of all this other shit. And us people at the front end are always just kind of getting fucked. And I've always wondered when that dynamic is going to change. But the definition and meaning of being an artist itself is just completely far away from what it ever was to begin with. And it's almost gone from being an artist to being a multi-talented creative. And that's the same case for most people that I could think of that even make music, is that they're also doing all these other things. And a lot of them are probably just because they have to, more than some of them even want to. But it's I don't even get the time to be an artist half the time right now, because I'm doing so many different things. And maybe that's me having to discipline myself out, but I really am my happiest when I just get to make music and only sit there and focus on creating and having a good time with music. And if I could get paid adequately or compensated effectively just to live, I'm not asking for millions of dollars. And I think a lot of people out there that make music aren't either, but just being able to be valued enough for what they create, that they can just exist and just even have the free time to sit here and make more music that people still need, that people will always need. And yeah, there's so many people that are doing that now that it's well, you and fucking all the other 250,000 people on this planet that are trying to put out music, and all the other 60,000 songs that are released on Spotify every day. So there still has to be a competition to it. Yeah, and that I do understand, right? You can say that's when marketing comes into play, but then again, the blueprint and point of marketing still is that you have to understand so much more than how am I going to promote my music. It's you now have to figure out how to become a visual artist. You have to figure out how to become a marketer and a visual artist, and maybe even on top of that, a video editor, because the blanket for the algorithm is changing to where your quality has to upgrade. You can't get by with just mid, shooting quality, but still have great music. Like everything keeps going and flowing up, 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 up. And then now we're getting to the point where AI is becoming an intermediary thing. Grimes has talked about you being able to use her voice via AI and do a 50% royalty split with her on the song, which is phenomenal if you think about it, especially from a marketing standpoint and from a usage standpoint, because now this person doesn't have to do anything and other people can just use them as a platform to make money. And this goes with the song that was put out by a dude named Ghosty or something like that, where he basically made an AI song of Drake and The Weeknd, and it sounds phenomenal. It sounds fucking amazing. So if we don't need the artist to make music anymore, then what do we need? Then what? Where do we go? And our position, I think, comes more with that, like, the skills we have themselves are generally going to be more valued over time. And what I mean by that is like, you may still need a small sample. Like it's going to be a while before you're going to be able to just take a 2-second sample of my voice and vocal tone and turn that around into a full outright song of me, because you're going to need way more information than just that. But you're also going to need a lot of data alone and data points, and you're going to need a lot of shit to make sure that accurately happens. And then even on top of that, if you're not engineering that correctly, it's not going to come out and sound very well. Is there a time and point where we can replicate everything to do with music? 100%. I don't really care who you are if you think that music and everything else in your existence can't be replaced with AI. You can. The only thing that keeps us in business in the future is the real part of our existence, which is like live, like in-person live performances. And even then, whenever we live in an augmented reality world, good luck. You basically have to be sitting on a teetering point of being able to be technologically inclined into the world of where music is going to be at on top of the other side of it. And it's going to be a very nuanced point where, knowing all these skills is what's giving me the opportunity to prompt the tools to make music now with all of these other things, because everything that we do is just going to get seamless and more seamless. So is there going to be a point where I can ask an AI to give me a guitar loop in a specific mannerism, and I can then take the stems and put that in FL Studio and fluctuate it out, and like, yes, all of that's going to be a thing. There's just going to be a point where all of the aspect of it especially from an electronical point, everything outside of like maybe going backwards in time of, we already see this happen actually, but like eventually maybe live performances themselves end up becoming more valuable than regular songs. But then if that's the case, that also can be recreated with AI. There's just nothing that gets you out of what has to come eventually. And like there will be different positions that artists take where like, all your tools will end up being automated more, and then things will be seamless. And so it's like FL Studio will just become out of commission until you can have an AI assistant with it that just accelerates the time it takes to make the music. And all you really need is some like your experience and your base skills. But once again, after a certain point, you just become so autonomically replaceable because those skills are also learnable by other people, by an AI, even if that. And it's just, where's the drawing line really? Because you can say we can't replace spirit in the music, but unless you're going to hear me in person with no mic and everything come out of my own voice, essentially, with nothing else, then tell me how in a post-truth existence are we going to be able to sit here and accurately value people that can be replaced, things that can be replaced. You can't replace your connections, you can't replace your skills, but as a society, we can replace entertainment with robots. Because there is a point where where the robots are being controlled by the human, and then, okay, well then where's the break line, right? Because it used to matter that if you did something electronic based, people would shit on you for that. Like, you might have still had an audience, but for the most part, people shit on it in a lot of different ways. And then eventually hip hop came around and sample culture and changing, and the technology changed. So that aspect of how we created the music then began to change. And with all of these different fluctuations, you just get to this point where you're like, people used to get shit on for using autotune. Britney Spears used to get shit on for having autotune on her voice, and now it's some people prefer to hear more autotune on the voice now, and I'm like, I don't want to do that personally. I like my vocals being as raw as possible, or at least having so little autotune on the voice that you can't even hardly tell it's there, and you're still getting more of like the raw feel, and it's just kind of correcting some very minor things, like, and that's on almost every single vocal track of any mid to big size artist you'll ever hear when it comes to singing. Or some of them not, because there's some songs where I didn't use autotune at all and it just sounded good raw. And, you know, those are some of the best songs in my opinion. But it's like, even with metal and a genre that has prided itself especially on the skill of every layer of the creation of that, from the vocal skill, and if not the vocal skill, because I've definitely heard vocalists that I'm like, bro, what? And they still did well, to at least the instrumentals that made up for, like, there was different layers on all accounts, right? On what people valued behind that. But now I can completely do all the metal stuff in my DAW, and I can recreate it, or I could recreate or create anything that I want electronically, make it sound almost just as ripe and similar as all of it live, and then someone can still go and perform all of it live. So there's really hardly a difference. And so if the instrumentals can already be created and recreated electronically to completely be at that point, and then you think about what you can do with that with AI, then think about the other part of it, the voice part. Because then all you really can say is that you put some energy into it, and because you were still observing it or overviewing it, that's the part of like putting the spirit and putting all these other things into it, which is not necessarily true, because you didn't make it the same way that other people in the past have made it by putting their actual soul into it. But, and then that's when the receiving of it might become different, and there has to be a different point, and maybe this is where blockchain technology comes into play later on down the line, where like the verification of you being you, creating you, and all that kind of stuff, and that's what makes the value of music go up, because everyone can make AI music and anybody can, but nobody can be skillful in all the areas of their artistry to be able to sit here and make this specific type of song with all of these different whatever, like, and then verifying that completely through the blockchain that it was made through you. And eventually it's going to get to a point where you creating it, like the process of you creating it, is what's more valuable than the end creation of the song itself. Like the verifiable point of not just the finished product, people will listen to that, but like a video of me creating the song front to back and getting my sounds and putting it all in, and you watching me put it all together is going to be more valuable. And then taking that to the blockchain, you kind of see where this goes. But it's like, eventually being an artist will never be the same as being an artist of what it is before. And eventually I could also see from a mainstream point, like anyone can make music now and anybody can do it. Anybody can really get decent at it, if not perfected, in a shorter span of time than anyone else ever has. And so it's once again, realistically, artistry itself is going to get to the same fabricated pinnacle point that it's at right now in the main point of the industry, but it's going to be just like Hollywood on a different scaled level, because those people are still influencers, they still have influence, they still have the ability to have power, and frequency programming through music is going to be something that never goes away unless we have an overhaul to our system and society and other things and normalization and whatever else. But we've over normalized all the things that regular pop music, country music, and hip hop and rap have all continued to promote over and over and over. And shit, even Kanye West literally has talked about this, and he points it out. Like, it's very clear, and if you do your research, it's pretty fucking clear as well. And then we talk about how anything is going to change from valuing musicians different to changing the dynamic of what music is put in people's ears anyway, and we got a long way to go. But the position of being an artist itself is going to be in a completely different dynamic. And once again, maybe this is where blockchain technology changes the practicality of being able to have people around you and verify everything that's going on around you, that it is real and not automated, not a robot, and getting direct access to those people, because the value of the needs of the people are going to change, especially with music, and they already are. And that's why we're having all these different practicalities now, how you can pop out as a musician. It's not just go make TikToks and hope that you get into that part of the industry, because if your goal is to be profitable, then you could just go to Web3 and build your relationships and connections with people in Web3 or Web2, and just get your 1,000, 5,000 super fans, and that is what you can eat off of forever, because that's your people that'll buy your tickets, your merch, whatever, and support you through everything that you're doing, or even give you enough leverage over a certain amount of time to help you scale up what you're doing. But regardless, there's still going to be a constant shift and change on what an artist is, where it is, and who you are and what you do. Right now, I'm also having to become a blockchain developer because I want to get deeper into the Web3 part of it. And because of how early it is, I have to take up all these roles, and then all those roles eventually are going to get stripped from me because they're going to get made easier. But then I'm going to end up taking different roles because the knowledge I have is still a practical use, but everything is going to continue to move. Then eventually, I'm replaceable. Everybody is replaceable. Even from an entertainment standpoint, every single individual human being is fucking replaceable. The thing that's not replaceable between us is connections. And that's the only thing that gives somebody like me or like other artists the capability of being valued like that, is because the gravity and weight that creativity can bring is also that it can foster community. It can bring people to care. And that's what the only thing that's going to bring value in the long run back to musicians or creatives in general, is having fostered one-to-one connections and in community. And that is still what we are priding ourselves on our existence today, and how we will always have to move as a consistent overall collective conscious species. And for us to thrive and live, that's how we've always had to do it. And that's how we'll have to do it forever, until technology has overtaken it to a point where you don't need anyone but the technology to help you, or to guide you, or to give you a reference point, or to show you the future, or give you practicalities, or help you medically. Even over in China right now, majority of the medical staff are all robots, and all the help that you can get are fucking robots, and they're working on a social credit system, and it's a whole other big mess that you take that AI and you see where the rest of the world is now, where it's going, and then you integrate how technology kind of formats around that. And I don't see this playing out the best, but I also see that it just plays out with different types of opportunities. And I think in the future there will be more, as there are now, more independent artists that will be financially wealthy off of their music than there ever has been in the past. But that also is only because the tools that are going to be brought out have shifted the dynamic that the artist position that labels have put artists in over this extended period of time is dying, and that model is dying itself, and the new models have to be made, which when a new model is introduced, that means that there also has to be new positions to be taken, new dynamics, new things to learn. And if they're not keeping up avidly with how things are going to be transforming and what they're transforming into, then they're going to get completely left behind, unless they do what most companies I feel like today are going to be doing, and that's just waiting for people to do all the other autonomical updates and everything else, and they'll just buy or they'll invest into the software part of it, and they'll just run with it and do what they can to probably fuck some other people over in the circle of it. I don't see the best of intentions from the past 50 to 100 years of the music industry, and I don't see the next 50 to 100 years of it being that, us having it back in our hands and the power is going to really change things, unless you overhaul Spotify, Apple Music, and all the other things that curate the centerfold of the entire point of the music industry. You overhaul Billboard because Billboard's corrupted. You overhaul the whole fucking system because all of it's been corrupted by the same group of people for a long time. Good luck. Just full out good luck. Good luck to me. Good luck to you. Good luck to everyone else. Some people will find their footing. Some people will make money. Some people will still be financially wealthy. None of these things are impossible. But as an overall standpoint of where I see it going, there becomes a more diluted point and position of you just only being able to be an artist, only being able to be a few things on top of an artist. You might have to be a lot more than just that. And maybe that's a more enjoyable existence too, because there's definitely things that I want to do science-wise and other things that have nothing to do with music but have everything to do with my interest still. So that is a practical thing. But the position of being an artist and being a full-time artist and everything to do with an artist is going to completely shatter, morph, change, and eventually we might not even be called artists anymore or music creators, because the dynamic of it could completely shift. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for the support on the podcast and anything else that you provide value with supporting me and listening to my music, hearing what I have to say, keeping up with me on social media. Aeromist.xyz are all the links in the description if you want to go check out what we got going on. If you want to check out my music, I do a lot of different alternative-based stuff. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you.